I'm your host, Stephen Vanover, here on the Sportstalkline Network, where we talk sports 24/7, 365. This is the NFC East Report, or the NFC Least Report. I'm here with my cohorts of always having cohorts, Mr. Tom McAllister from New York City. Good day, sir.
Thanks for having me.
And the man with no remorse, I mean none, Zippo, Nate, no remorse, Dowdy. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, just don't cut me off like that, goddammit.
Again.
Yeah.
All right. And this is the NFC Least, and it is a messed up division. Right now, the Philadelphia Eagles are in first place with a 2-4-1 record with a huge half-game lead over both Washington and Dallas, who have 2-5 records, and the New York Giants at 1-6. But I don't think that accurately reflects how this league is stacked from top to bottom. Let's start out with the team that is the best. They are the Philadelphia Eagles, and I don't think they're out there bragging about it to anybody because they still have three areas that are really messing with them: the offensive line, QB Carson Wentz, and his receiving core, though, I don't know. Fulgham may be having something to say about that. Tom, I mean, you're there in New York. What do you hear?
Basically, I think Carson Wentz leading the NFL in turnovers is shocking, considering how awful certain quarterbacks are playing this year, who at this section of the show will be named nameless. And when you look at some of the plays Carson Wentz made, these are, throwing the ball across the field for a screen pass where some of his decision-making is questionable. And also when you look at the Eagles last game, they struggled in the red zone, to say the least, for about 55 minutes of that game.
Well, I want to disagree with you, Van, first and foremost, that they're not bragging to anybody about this. You got to remember, this is the city of Philadelphia, the city of low standards, the city where they have a statue of a fictional character named, even though Rocky is a badass movie, not badass enough to have a damn statue. So yes, they are bragging about this.
Well, at least they've got something to brag about. First place. I'd rather have a team brag about that than brag about kind of that. Well, if you get to 4 victories in your division, your chances of winning. We'll get to that later. But hey, let's talk about that Philly OLine. We've got to stay on target with that. It is a problem, but this is going to be the first team in the East where they're going to have all of their offensive line pieces back this week, I believe, because now they get Peters back, they get Lane Johnson back. Everybody's going to be there. Now, the guys might not be playing that well, but they will have the pieces to shuffle around and see if they can come up with a winning formula. I think that's huge.
I think, though, too, when you look at the Eagles' remaining schedule, they still got Washington, which has a lot of pass rushing talent, to say the least. And also the Giants are respectable up front. They're able to create pressure. So, and also a lot of the bad decisions Carson Wentz has made, he really wasn't under that much pressure. And they really haven't been able to establish the run game. And you got to wonder if, this Super Bowl hangover is still going.
Oh, well, I don't think there's any doubt about that. However, just to show you how much the worm has turned, I actually started the season with my fantasy club with Dak Prescott as my quarterback. I now have Carson Wentz as my quarterback. And with Carson Wentz as my QB, I lost by 1.5 points. So no, nobody should be surprised at that. But that's the thing. He does have talent. And now that he's got Fulgham, he's got some guys that he can throw to, but they have the same problem that the Giants have. Without delving into that, they have a big problem at tight end as well, don't they, Tom?
I think you're talking about the Giants here.
No, I'm talking about the Eagles.
I would say with the Eagles, I think their whole wide receiver core is questionable. They have a lot of injuries. No one has really stepped up far. Travis Fulgham has. I mean, he's the UDFA. He's the one guy that, they're actually able to go through and get some stuff done. Ward Jr., he's the other guy that's kind of showing up. But that's it. You're basically right. Well, I guess this is a similar question, which is being asked around the league, in certain metropolitans with football teams. But do you really blame Carson Wentz, or does Carson Wentz not have enough talent around him? So I think that's something that needs to be discussed and decided, because Philly has decided they're going to ride Carson Wentz. They invested in him. They made that move, and they let Nick Foles walk, who right now the Eagles kind of look smart for it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Spinksy has us under contractual obligation at this point in the show to say you kept the wrong quarterback. Okay, it's under contract. We have to say that. All right, Nate, go ahead. You had your hand up there.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both when it comes to Carson Wentz, because if you watch his game, he holds onto the ball too long, and that's caused unnecessary sacks. At the same time, you can't excuse that many turnovers. He should not be leading the league in turnovers. At the same time, that's a little bit of him having to do too much. But
it's a perfect storm. I think, I respect both you guys, but you're both wrong. And it is what it is. The kid has talent. It's the perfect example is the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott had the talent to compensate for what the Cowboys don't have, which is an offensive line. And he had the skill set to make that happen. Carson Wentz does a little bit to compensate for that offensive line, but he doesn't have the talent to compensate for the offensive line, the lack of a running game, and the lack of wide receivers. He just doesn't have it. And so he's trying to do too much, and he's pressing. Now, will he be able to recover for this? Well, it all depends if they can get the offensive line cooking. If they can't, he will continue a downward spiral, and it doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong. He's still going to lead the NFL in turnovers. Tom?
I would say one thing Carson Wentz should be glad about, every time they bring Jalen Hurts on the field, it turns into a negative play for the Eagles. Whatever dynamic offensive scheme they have when, Jalen Hurts is on the field, totally backfires. So if you're Carson Wentz, you got a little bit of a grin saying, oh, this is my replacement. Oh, loss of 5 yards, loss of 10 yards. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's like Dak Prescott watching Andy Dalton. He's not impressed by this. And I understand, though, that Wentz's agent is actually trying to get Winston back in the league as quickly as he can.
Yeah. Nate, what do you got? We heard you chiming in.
Okay.
Well, at the same time, it's a dead giveaway when Jalen Hurts is in the game. They know it's going to be a read option. They're not trusting him to throw the ball. So it kind of defeats the purpose of it, because teams know they're not going to trust him to throw the ball, particularly when they keep Carson Wentz on the field at the same time. They have him split out wide. So you're already down one receiver. It absolutely makes no sense to me.
Well, and that's what, the Saints don't do with Hill.
Yeah, they don't. It'd be like having Drew Brees on the field at the same time. And so it's not a dead giveaway. They actually trust him to make some plays sometimes. So it's just completely ass backward.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's a pretty whack situation. But I don't think that they trust Miles Sanders. I don't think they trust their running backs or their running game. Let's just say that. It's not a good situation at all, I don't think. They are the Eagles. They are in the driver's seat to take the NFC least. But again, I don't think that that's necessarily you're going to want something you want on your resume for this season. I really, really don't. Well, let's slide on over to the next team on the list, the Washington football team. Or is that on our list? Yes. No, it isn't. It's the Giants, the New York Giants. Tom's sitting there going, wait a minute. What about me? All right. And Tom, the question here is, I don't think there's any doubt that the Giants have progressed every game. I think they've done this better than any other NFC least team out there. They have improved almost in all facets of the game, every game. I see improvement. Are they going to continue to do that this year? Or are they kind of hit their cap and they're going to level out right about here? Or do you think that they can continue to improve this season?
I think they can continue to improve. When you're 1-6, you can really only go up. There is no down. Defensively, I think they've outplayed, they outplayed expectations. They got Xavier McKinley coming back from injury, second round pick safety. You got to wonder how he'll play. Jabril Peppers, he's been injured. So you got to wonder if that affected him in the short rest week against the Eagles. And when you really look at it too, I feel like as this defense gels, they will continue to get better. Offensively, I think is where the concern is. This was the first game though, where Daniel Jones had pretty much all his wide receivers and tight end. He had Sterling Shepard, who made his presence felt in the red zone. Golden Tate, he was able to get a touchdown. Of course, there's Evan Engram, who, boy, did that name come up a lot.
Evan who? Engram? Does he play for the Giants?
Evan Engram. And this is one of the things where, if you look at the narrative a few weeks ago, it was, is Daniel Jones good enough and all that stuff. When you look at Daniel Jones play, he did have 2 turnovers. And one of the pet peeves is, one of the correlations is, most of his interceptions, Evan Engram's the target. So that's a little more than coincidence.
100%. I like how they're trying to get Evan Engram into the game right away. The last 2 games, I think the first or second play of the game went to him, completion, et cetera. They're trying to work him into the game. But that's what I was going to ask you. I've noticed that he's a turnover magnet. Whenever they're going to him or something like that, it's not working out. He's not seeing the same routes, et cetera, et cetera. Isn't it time to move on from Evan Engram? I mean, I know I did in my fantasy league quite a while ago, okay?
I would have to say a resounding yes, because a lot of people are speculating a Giants fire sale. One name that I hope does not go is Dalvin Tomlinson. He's still under his rookie contract. He's part of the solution. Okay. I would really like, I can see Williams walking if he costs too much, but if you get, Dexter Lawrence, Dalvin Tomlinson, and maybe put in BJ Hill, wait a minute, that's a pretty legit crew. And then if you have Blake Martinez, Lorenzo Carter comes back from injury, they add another cornerback, all of a sudden, wait a minute, the Giants have this thing called a good defense, which they haven't had since 2016, it feels like.
They're this close. Yeah, I totally agree. By the way, Eli Apple was cut today.
Shocking. The sad part is Eli Apple is not the Giants draft pick that's in the most trouble, who was a cornerback. Yeah, so let's just leave it at that. But I think defensively, you got to give Patrick Graham a lot of credit. You got to give Joe Judge a lot of credit on the defensive side. I think the big thing they're going to be looking at is offensive line play. It seems like they're coming up with an identity where they're pretty good running the ball up the middle. I thought Wayne Gallman had an excellent game, both catching the ball.
Yes.
He had some big runs. It's almost like, if he had 2 5-yard.
We've liked Gallman for years. It's just never worked out for him, has it?
No, but this time he was getting the reps.
And he's that kind of a back. I think he's a back that is going to get better as the game goes on, giving the ball. Yeah. And that's what he showed, right?
Yeah, and I definitely think, too, it's we'll see how they do this week against Tampa Bay, because Tampa Bay has shown that when they get up, they're going to keep putting up the numbers. I think someone on Tampa Bay has a chip on his shoulder. But I really think people so far are happy with the defensive development unit by unit, because last year, all the units, except maybe defensive line was okay, but there was a weakness at the linebacker.
And that was really 2 players there that, that had upside that made that exciting. Yeah, I have to admit, for the team that is in last place in the NFC East, I think your upside is better than any of the other teams in the division. And your locker room is much better place.
Yeah, I think it is, and people are buying into Joe Judge. And
I am.
It's just the question with the Giants is it comes to Daniel Jones, where, at the way it stands right now, unless you're getting Trevor Lawrence, Daniel Jones is going to be your quarterback next year.
At the trade window, if Dallas calls and says, you know what, we want Jason Garrett back, would you send him?
I don't know. Are they going to send over McCarthy?
Yeah, that's the deal. You got to trade, okay?
No. If McCarthy is having trouble with that offensive talent, Yeah, no. Wait. Unless we're tanking for Trevor Lawrence.
Okay, well, and we're going to talk about that at the end of the show because the Giants and the Cowboys, whoever wins their next game, could win Trevor Lawrence. All right, now let's move on now to the Washington football team. And the question I want to talk about here, and let's jump it out to Nate because he's been sitting there. I could tell that the batteries on one of his implements probably ran out. All right. I don't know which one though, Nate. Probably the one you use the most. All right. But with the Washington football team, a few questions come to mind. Is the QB they have in there right now, is he enough? Allen. He shows a lot of moxie, but then he also makes some bonehead plays, man. I don't know, but he's got some wheels too. He can move around. And then secondly, their front four, no, actually their front seven. How good are they going to get this season?
Well, first of all, to answer your first question, no, Allen's not going to be enough. I mean, I think his career highlight so far has been
enough about the Dallas game, okay? No.
yeah, that career, that's essentially his career highlight, and being chosen over Cam Newton the year before and starting over Kyler Murray at Texas A&M. That's essentially what his career has been so far. But no, does his familiarity with Ron Rivera gives him a better shot for them to succeed more than Dwayne Haskins? I think that was quite damning when they benched Dwayne Haskins for him, and they continue to roll with this guy, with the lackluster results.
Yeah. Haskins has more talent, but he doesn't have the head for being an NFL QB. And until he does, that talent's going to end up exactly how Haskins was. Haskins was a poor man's Winston.
Yeah, a very poor man. I mean, that's some welfare reception poor man. Right?
Yeah, and I like your description better. Yeah.
But anyway, and how good the defensive line, the front seven could be for this team, and it's really tough to say because their best performance of the season so far was against the Dallas Cowboys with basically all but one starter on the offensive line. Connor McGovern was making his first start for the Cowboys. Terrence Steele is an undrafted free agent rookie.
I started at right guard that time.
What's that?
I started at right guard that game for the Cowboys.
Yeah, and I was right next to you with the center. So, they were decimated on the offensive line, and they did what they were supposed to do. But unless they start beating up on some of the better teams in the league, I really don't think this is going to be the engine that's going to push them towards potential playoff berth.
Okay, well, not this season. I agree with that because there's too many ways that you can attack them. They still give up the downfield play. But what's interesting about that is the pass rush is the best defense against a downfield play. So as they get better and better, and right now, Sweat is the guy that's really bringing the cheese. But Chase Young is definitely getting double team. I saw a play against Dallas. They put two tight ends on him. He just stood him up. Looked right, looked left. Oh, there he goes. Threw him off and then made the tackle. I mean, it was nothing to him. He treated them as two young boys, which I actually think that's what they were. But
his nickname should be the Priest.
I'm just really impressed. I think, like the Giants, they are playing better and better and better every game. And you explained it, I think, perfectly with the QB. Is he better than what you were getting with Haskins? I have to say, yeah. Is he going to be enough? I have to agree with you. No.
Yeah, and he's playing there because Ron Rivera was familiar with him in Carolina. So he had, and it just goes to show you, Dwayne Haskins is not, this coaching staff did not draft Dwayne Haskins, and they're well aware of that.
He's definitely going to get signed by the Raiders soon. That's just where QB's going to die right there, man. Okay. It's pretty interesting. I like what they're doing and how they're doing it on defense, but they're still the Washington football team. I almost said it, the Washington football team. And they still got Snyder at the top, and that makes them dysfunctional.
Yeah, and it was funny before the year, everyone looked really surprised that they had a dysfunctional culture inside the front office. Like, oh my God. I mean, he could run Yeah.
Yeah, everybody knew, right? Okay, it is what it is. But hey, I also got to give a shout out to Terry McLaurin, the wide receiver. Did he have a game? Whoa. Well done, dude. Well done. All right, let's go on to the. Oh no, that's all. There's only 3 football teams in the NFC East. It's an unbalanced conference.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Oh no.
Oh, you're right. You're right here. It says we have Alabama is the last team in the NFC East.
No. I talk about my pain. You guys are going to talk about your pain.
We have we have a show of our own that we discuss this. So
yeah, so do I.
Through a tunnel here. Can't hear you, Tom. Okay.
Sorry, you are talking about in front of me.
All right, we're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys, the worst team in the NFC East.
yeah, and they are. I mean, I don't know if you could name a worse football team. If Sam Darnold started for the New York Jets next week and the Dallas Cowboys were playing them, I picked the New York Jets to win. They're that bad on defense. They're that dysfunctional in the locker room. And when you say dysfunction, everyone, much like the Washington football team, no one's surprised that there is dysfunction in Dallas. In fact, Jerry Jones relishes in dysfunction. I remember the year they were on Hard Knocks in 2008. He basically comes out and said, if you want to win on Broadway, I like to win with dysfunction.
He just likes to win. Dysfunction is one of the ways he happens to do it more often than not. Basically, I agree with you 100%. They couldn't beat the Jets with Winston starting at QB. All right? The Jets.
And the Jets are, by many standards, the worst football team in the league. But
I would bet on the Browns if the Browns had OBJ starting at QB and came into AT&T Stadium.
Yeah, with the torn ACL.
With the torn ACL. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Tom, just wipe that smile off your face now. It's ear to ear. You're ruining the white balance. Okay.
Yeah. On top of that, I think if you're looking for any kind of a silver lining, and I think Dallas has recognized that this season that they're tanking. So they're letting a lot more of the younger players play. They're letting Connor McGovern start. Well, not letting him, but he is starting.
That's going to be the narrative. Did you hear Jerry Jones on his Tuesday show? So they tried to ask him, all right, Jerry, when you walk into the locker room, he asked him, do you have a lack of leadership problem and that's all I got out. Jerry Jones said, no. What do you mean a lack of which line? Are you saying on the offensive line? Do I see lack of leadership there? No, of course not. The defensive line? Are you saying experience? No. The answer is no. The guy said, well, what I'm saying is when you walk in the locker room, I said no. Did you hear me? No. Now move on.
Yeah, and then on top of that, they did trade Everson Griffin today.
Oh, yeah, he's up for trade. He
traded him to the Lions, and they got a 6th-round pick, and they have Don Terry Poe and Daryl Worley also in the trading block right now. So
I'm glad they got rid of it. That is addition through subtraction.
Yeah, and they're getting something out of it. And so I think they're getting ready to basically say, okay, we're not competing this year. Let's get some more darts to throw at the draft board here.
I think that's smart. I think that's smart as can be, because there's 2 things that the Dallas Cowboys don't have: an offensive line or a defense. Tom?
Now, let me ask you this question, though. I could understand.
No, I said there's no problem.
No, this is more a hypothetical situation. If you're looking at, quote, tanking for a quarterback and you're not in line for that number 1 pick, because remember, the Cowboys got a long way to fall to get to that number 1 pick. The Jets still haven't won a game. The Giants only won 1 game, and they beat them head-to-head. If you're the Cowboys, do you really tank for Justin Fields? I say no, because I'm going to ask both of you guys a question. When was the last time an Ohio State quarterback was successful in the NFL? And start now.
Yeah, I don't need it. I don't think they tank. I think Jerry is committed to re-signing Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott's beginning right now, going into this season of the NFL, the number 1 rated QB in the NFL, according to yardage, is Dak Prescott. He was that far ahead. He was having that big of a season. So, there is no question. He proved everything he needed to prove. If the cliff that the Dallas Cowboys offense stepped off of when Dak Prescott went down, did not prove his value, then his value will never, ever be proven. He's got the QB right now. Jerry's going to sign him because he does not want him to get away. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to do exactly what Nate said, which is tank for draft picks. Get up there, get high. Hope somebody else wants it. Trade it down. They know they need talent. I think Jerry knows that there is a lack of leadership in the locker room as well. And let's briefly touch on that in the last 5-minute segment here, as we're going to talk about the NFC East overall. And I think the lack of leadership on the Eagles is a big problem. I think the lack of leadership on Washington is a huge problem. I think the lack of leadership on the Dallas Cowboys is a critical problem. And I think the Giants got leaders on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I have to disagree with the Giants having leadership on there's any side of the ball. But I will say this: if you're looking for the Cowboys, if you're potentially getting a top 5 pick, there's a fantastic prospect at left tackle from the University of Oregon at Sewell.
Which is what I think they're doing, not a QB. I think, and now here's the other thing. Let's send this around the room. I think it is entirely possible for the entire NFC East to all be in the top 10 of the NFL draft.
Well, they're going to have one team in the 20s because one of them's going to make the playoffs by virtue of that.
Not necessarily. The NFL might just say, you know what do you say? No? Let's just say no? Okay. Yeah, you're right. Okay. But I mean, it should be, because, they're going to have possibly less than 8, which I think probably less than 8 wins. And does that put you in the top 20?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to put you in the top 20 just based on that's how the way they rank them.
Boy, that's penalty and punishment, because not only does your team suck, now you don't even get a good draft pick.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's why people, when they have these rumors about trading for Ryan Fitzpatrick in Dallas, and it's kind of like, why? So would they get squashed in the playoffs and drop out about 15 to 17 spots in the draft order? It makes no sense.
It's freaky. But yeah, I think, with the Dallas Cowboys, there's 3 things that they need to be looking at in the NFL draft: offensive line, offensive line, offensive line.
Yeah, and defensive tackle too.
I mean, it's not going to help them, not with no one at coach. Everywhere that Nolan has gone, he has made as a defensive coordinator, he has made the defense worse. Not better, worse.
I'm talking Jim Tomsula. He's arguably one of the best defensive line coaches in the league. So I agree. So is the guy that left. So, I mean, it is what it is. That their defense is a shit show as long as Nolan's in charge. I don't think it matters who you put over there. They're just going to have to outscore the other team, and they can't do that without an offensive line. If they get a running game going, they get Prescott back, man, this is a team that would be tough to beat no matter what the defense was doing. But, they need offensive linemen. And something we talked about earlier, Nate, I agree with you. I think Tyrone Smith's career is over. Yeah, unfortunately, he's been missing games left and right for the last 4 years, has never played more than 13 games the last few years, and now he's having neck surgery. So I wouldn't be surprised if he called it quits, and I wouldn't blame him.
Yeah, Tom?
Do you think when all is said and done about Dak Prescott's career, his best chance to win a Super Bowl title was his rookie season in Dallas?
Well,
absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, based on the trajectory the team's going in, and the fact that he's no longer going to be on a rookie contract if he sticks around, yeah, it's probably the best chance. I mean, they've overpaid Ezekiel Elliott. They've overpaid Amari Cooper. There's a laundry list of people with big contracts on that team. And then going into 2021 with an abbreviated cap, it's just going to make things more difficult.
Well, let me ask you this. You guys remember the 2011 draft, right?
Oh, yeah.
Remember when it was all the talk was, all right, Tyrone Smith or J.J. Watt? Who are the Cowboys going to take? And they took Tyrone Smith. Everybody thought it was a good deal. But both of those players, as talented as they are and as excellent careers they've had, not really great picks.
What?
I think Watt, he might have been injured, but when you look at him, I think Dallas would.
He just missed so many games, man. He's missed so many games.
You see what J.J. Watt is doing as a member of the Texans when it comes to merchandise and everything like that. Just imagine if he was with the Cowboys, how much marketability he would give to Dallas.
Yeah, I don't know about making them both of them bad picks. They both had a good 7 years.
Oh, no, I don't say they're bad picks. I'm just saying that they're not great picks. They have the potential to be great players, and when they're healthy, they are great players. I love Watt. I love Tyrone Smith. I think they are excellent players. I don't mean to give that impression at all. I'm talking about the pick. I'm talking about, of course, now a lot better than Jacksonville, who took Dwayne Gabbert in between Smith and Watt. I mean, how would you like to be that guy?
Yeah.
I think this is the guy I want. Yeah. But then after they had a bunch of guys, but none of them have played really up to the level of these guys. You've got Cameron Jordan, solid career, but he's not a J.J. Watt. All right, he's not a Tyrone Smith. You've got Ryan Kerrigan. Ooh, he's getting there. He's getting there. That guy has played very, very well. But that's about it. I mean, those were the two best guys at that level. I don't think that it was the wrong picks, but gosh, man, I was hoping for 10 solid years out of Tyrone Smith, and that just hasn't happened.
Yeah, well, this is his 10th year in the league, and unfortunately, it's just one of those positions where it's an arduous position to play. And if you're not, anytime you get someone for a second contract nowadays in the first round, it's considered a success.
Oh, so you do like the Ezekiel Elliott signing?
No, except for running backs.
All right. Well, hey, guys, real quick, let's wind this down. We don't want to go on too long. Let's just set up the NFC East as it is right now. Do we all agree Philadelphia Eagles is the number one team on paper?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess.
It's like, there's nobody else stepping up, okay? Number two, I think, is a toss-up between Washington and the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, those guys got to play head-to-head, but I'd still give it to Washington just because of the prowess they have in the front seven.
Yeah, they're probably a more established.
And then we all agree Dallas is definitely the worst team in the East.
They're the caboose.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it. And thanks so much for watching. If you haven't done it already, we forgot to ask you earlier, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit that notify bell. Please give us a retweet on Twitter. Please put us on Facebook. Put us on TikTok. We need you, TikTok. And before we go, down below, Mr. Tom McAllister. You can find him on Twitter at dpins_com. That's dpins_com. Great follow on Twitter. Please do it. And you know where to find the man, Nate, at No Remorse Sports on Twitter. Follow him, because why? He'll come find you if you don't. You don't want that to happen. It's not pretty. It's not pretty. That's Stephen Vanover. Thank you so much. Till next time, be sure watch the New York Giants Weekly coming up later in the week and the Dallas Cowboys Weekly.